I was standing in line at the grocery store, mindlessly scrolling through my phone, when I saw it. A notification from our joint credit card. A charge for $847 at the Riverside Hotel. The same hotel where my wife Emily claimed she was attending a mandatory HR conference that very afternoon. Except the charge wasn't for a conference room. It was coded as food and beverage. My thumb hovered over the screen. $847 on drinks and appetizers. At 2:47 p.m. on a Wednesday, I should have called her right then. I should have asked for an explanation. Instead, something in my gut, some primal instinct I'd been ignoring for months, made me open the Find My iPhone app we'd set up years ago for safety purposes. The little blue dot representing Emily's location pulsed steadily. Riverside Hotel, 4th floor. The conference, according to the email she'd forwarded me last week, was supposed to be in the hotel's ground floor convention center. Why would she be on the 4th floor? That's where the guest rooms were. Sir, you're next. The cashier's voice snapped me back. I looked down at my hands, realizing I'd been gripping a carton of milk so hard my knuckles had gone white. I muttered an apology, paid for groceries I couldn't even remember selecting, and walked to my car in a daze. 23 minutes. That's how long it took me to drive from the grocery store parking lot to the Riverside Hotel. 23 minutes of my mind racing through every possible innocent explanation. Maybe she was meeting a colleague in their room to prep for a presentation. Maybe the conference had overflow rooms on upper floors. Maybe, but deep down, I already knew. The late nights at the office, the new lingerie I'd found in her drawer with the tag still on. Lingerie she'd never worn for me. The way she'd started keeping her phone face down on every surface. The sudden interest in going to the gym at 5:30 a.m. The perfume I didn't recognize on her clothes. All those little moments I'd rationalized away were now assembling themselves into a picture I couldn't ignore. I parked across the street from the hotel's main entrance and opened the Find My iPhone app again. Still there. 4th floor. I checked the credit card statement again. The charge had posted 17 minutes ago. My hands were shaking as I pulled up the hotel's website and navigated to their restaurant menu. I did the math. Even with their most expensive wine, you'd have to be trying really hard to hit $847 for 2 people at lunch. Unless the itemized receipt appeared when I refreshed the credit card app. My stomach dropped. 1 bottle of Dom Perignon, $425. 2 orders of oysters, 2 filet mignons, 1 chocolate soufflé to share. Emily hated oysters. I'd learned that on our 3rd date, 12 years ago, when I'd taken her to that seafood place downtown and she'd nearly gagged at the sight of them on my plate. But someone she was with clearly didn't. I sat there in my car, watching the hotel entrance, my phone in one hand and the steering wheel in a death grip with the other. Part of me wanted to storm inside, find whatever room she was in, and confront her. The other part, the part that had kept me successful in my career as a financial analyst, told me to wait, to gather information, to be smart about this. That's when I saw them. The hotel's main entrance opened, and Emily stepped out into the autumn sunlight. She wasn't alone. Walking beside her, his hand resting casually on the small of her back, was Derek Paulson, my boss of 6 years. The man who'd been to our house for dinner countless times, who'd congratulated us at our 10th anniversary party, who'd given a toast at our wedding, who I'd considered not just a mentor, but a friend. They stood under the awning for a moment, and I watched as he leaned in and whispered something in her ear. She laughed, that full, genuine laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in over a year, and playfully swatted his chest. Then he pulled her close and kissed her. Not a peck, not a friendly goodbye. A real kiss, the kind that spoke of familiarity and intimacy and 1,000 other kisses that had come before it. My vision tunneled. My heart hammered so hard I could hear it pounding in my ears. They separated, and Derek walked toward the parking garage while Emily headed in the opposite direction toward her silver Lexus. The one I'd surprised her with for her 35th birthday last year. I ducked down in my seat as she drove past, though she wasn't looking my way. Her eyes were on her phone and she was smiling. When both cars had disappeared from view, I sat up and stared at the hotel entrance. My entire body felt numb, like I was watching this happen to someone else. Like I was a character in someone else's nightmare. Then the numbness began to crack, and underneath it was something cold and sharp and clarifying. I pulled out my phone and took screenshots of everything. The credit card charge, the itemized receipt, the Find My iPhone location history. I opened my laptop. I always kept it in my car for emergency work situations, and logged into our cellular provider's website. I downloaded the last 6 months of call and text records. Then I called my younger brother Tyler, who worked in IT security. "Hey man, what's up?" he answered on the second ring. "I need a favor," I said, surprised at how steady my voice sounded. "And I need you not to ask questions until later." "Okay." His tone shifted, picking up on something in my voice. "What do you need?" "How hard would it be to recover deleted text messages from an iPhone?" There was a pause. "From whose iPhone?" "Emily's." Another pause, longer this time. "How soon can you get me her phone?" I looked at the clock on my dashboard. Emily's conference was supposed to run until 5. It was barely 3:30. "Tonight," I said. "I can get it to you tonight." I sat in my car outside Tyler's apartment building for 20 minutes before going up. The evidence folder on my phone kept growing. Screenshots, PDFs, location history going back 6 months that showed a pattern I'd been too trusting to see. Every Thursday evening. Every other Tuesday afternoon. The Riverside Hotel appeared 17 times in our credit card statement since April. Tyler opened the door before I knocked. He must have been watching from the window. "Come in," he said. No questions. No forced sympathy. Just the quiet competence I needed right now. His apartment smelled like coffee and electronic components. 2 monitors glowed on his desk, code scrolling across one screen. He gestured to the couch and I sat, my phone feeling heavy in my pocket. "You want to tell me what's going on?" Tyler asked, settling into his desk chair. I pulled out my phone and handed it to him without a word. Watched his face as he scrolled through the screenshots. The restaurant receipt, the location data, the timeline I'd already started building in a spreadsheet, because that's what I did when the world stopped making sense. I organized it into columns and rows. Tyler's jaw tightened. "Derek? Your boss Derek?" 6 years I've worked for him. He came to our anniversary party last year. Emily made him that bourbon cake he liked. Jesus. Tyler set the phone down carefully like it might explode. "What do you need?" "Her text messages, the deleted ones. Can you recover them?" He was already nodding. "If she's using iCloud backup, yeah. I'll need her Apple ID and password." I recited them from memory. Shared accounts, shared passwords, shared life. The foundation of trust that made betrayal this easy. Tyler's fingers moved across his keyboard. "This might take a few hours. The backup has to download. Then I need to extract the database and rebuild the deleted message cache. You want to wait here or—" "I'll wait." He nodded and kept typing. I sat on his couch and stared at nothing while lines of code reflected in his glasses. My phone buzzed. Emily. "Conference running late. Might grab dinner with some of the HR people. Don't wait up." I stared at the message. The casual lie, delivered with the same tone she used to tell me she'd picked up milk. How many times had I believed these messages? How many dinners had she actually been with Derek instead? Tyler glanced over. "Her?" "Yeah." "You going to respond?" I thought about it. The old me, the me from this morning, would have sent back something supportive. "No problem, have fun." Maybe a heart emoji. I typed, "Okay." One word. Let her interpret that however she wanted. "Smart," Tyler said. Don't give her anything to work with. Not yet. The download bar on his screen crept forward. 43%. I watched it like it held the answers to questions I didn't want to ask. Tyler stood and went to the kitchen. Came back with 2 beers, twisted the caps off and handed me one. "Remember when Dad cheated on Mom?" he said quietly. I did. I was 16, Tyler was 13. The same methodical unraveling. The evidence, the confrontation, the lawyers. Mom had handled it with cold precision, and Dad had walked away with his car and his clothes and not much else. "She taught us well," Tyler said. "Document everything. Trust the facts. Don't let emotion make your decisions." "I'm not feeling much emotion right now," I said, and it was true. The shock had burned through me in that hotel parking lot. What remained was something harder, more focused. "You will," Tyler said. "Later. But right now, you need to stay exactly like this. Clinical. Because they're going to try to make you the bad guy when this comes out." The download hit 60%. I drank my beer and thought about Emily's face when she'd kissed Derek. The familiarity of it. The comfort. This wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake. This was a relationship. "How long do you think it's been going on?" I asked. Tyler shrugged. "Text messages will tell us. But based on the credit card pattern, at least 6 months. Probably longer." 6 months. Half a year of coming home to me, sleeping in our bed, planning our future. We'd talked about trying for kids again just last month. She'd been the one to bring it up. My stomach turned. I set down the beer. "You should eat something," Tyler said. "Not hungry." "Eat anyway. You need to keep your strength up. This is going to get worse before it gets better." He was right. I ordered a pizza from my phone, barely registering the toppings I selected. The download hit 80%. Tyler's printer hummed to life. "Starting to get some hits," he said. Deleted messages going back 8 months. A lot of them. 8 months. Before the new gym routine. Before the late nights at the office. This had been happening while I'd been completely oblivious, working for the man who was sleeping with my wife. The printer kept spitting out pages. Tyler had formatted them with timestamps, sender information, message content. I watched the stack grow and felt something cold settle in my chest. "You want to read them now or now?" He handed me the first page. The messages started innocuous enough. Derek asking Emily about a meeting. Emily responding with professional courtesy. Then, 3 weeks into the timeline, a shift. "You looked beautiful today." "Derek, we can't." "Can't what? Tell you the truth?" A week of silence in the deleted messages. Then, "I keep thinking about what you said. Meet me for coffee, just coffee." I flipped to the next page. The coffee had happened, then lunch, then drinks. The progression was textbook, and I'd seen none of it because I'd been busy trusting them both. By page 6, they'd slept together for the first time. Emily's message afterward. "I can't believe we did that. I feel terrible." Derek's response, "Don't. You deserve to feel wanted, to feel alive." My hands started shaking. Tyler noticed but didn't say anything. Page 10. "He doesn't suspect anything. He's too focused on work." Page 15. "I think I'm falling in love with you." Page 23. "We need to be more careful." He asked why I was at the gym so much. I set down the stack. There were at least 40 more pages still printing. "You okay?" Tyler asked. "No." "You want me to summarize the rest?" "No, I need to read it all." Because this was evidence. This was the foundation of whatever came next, and I was going to know every single detail before I made my next move. The pizza arrived. I ate mechanically, tasting nothing. Tyler kept printing messages, organizing them chronologically, highlighting the most damning exchanges. By the time the printer stopped, it was after 9. Emily had sent 2 more messages. Dinner was great, heading home soon, and love you. I didn't respond to either. Tyler handed me a flash drive. Everything's on here. Messages, metadata, timestamps. I've also got her location history for the past year, synced from her iCloud. And I pulled the photo stream. There are some pictures you probably don't want to see, but you might need them. I took the drive. It weighed nothing and everything. What are you going to do? Tyler asked. I don't know yet. But that was a lie. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud yet. I was going to take everything from both of them, methodically, carefully, the same way they'd taken everything from me. I need a lawyer, I said. A good one. Someone who specializes in infidelity cases. Tyler nodded and pulled up a browser. I know a guy. He's ruthless, expensive, but worth it. Money isn't an issue. We had plenty in our joint accounts. Money I'd earned while Emily was planning her exit with my boss. Tyler wrote down a name and number. Call him first thing tomorrow, and don't go home tonight. What? Stay here. You confront her now. While you're like this, it won't go well. You need to be strategic. Talk to the lawyer first, get your plan in place, then make your move. He was right. I knew he was right. But the thought of Emily coming home to an empty house, wondering where I was. Good, Tyler said, reading my expression. Let her wonder. Let her worry. You've got the upper hand now. Don't give it back. I texted Emily. Staying at Tyler's tonight. Need some brother time. 3 dots appeared immediately. Disappeared. Appeared again. Is everything okay? Fine, see you tomorrow. The dots appeared one more time, then stopped. No response. I turned off my phone and looked at Tyler. Thank you. That's what family does, he said. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow, we start building your case. But I didn't sleep. I lay on Tyler's couch and read every single message on those printed pages. Every lie, every promise, every intimate detail of their betrayal. By sunrise, I'd memorized all of it, and I was ready. The text arrived at 11:47 p.m. Where are you? Why aren't you coming home? I stared at Emily's message on my phone screen, lying on Tyler's couch in the dark. The blue light illuminated my face, and I could feel my brother watching me from the kitchen doorway. Her? He asked. Yeah. You going to answer? I typed slowly, deliberately. Staying at Tyler's tonight. Need some brother time? See you tomorrow. 3 dots appeared immediately. Disappeared. Appeared again. Is everything okay? I almost laughed. Almost. Everything's fine. Just needed a break. Don't wait up. I turned off the phone before she could respond. Tyler sat down on the opposite end of the couch. You know she's freaking out right now. Good. She's going to call Derek. I know. I did laugh then, a hollow sound that didn't reach my eyes. Let her. Let them both wonder what I know. And tomorrow? Tomorrow I call the lawyer, Rebecca Winters. Mom's friend recommended her. Tyler nodded. He'd been there when our mother systematically dismantled our father's life after his affair. Watched her document everything, plan everything, execute everything with surgical precision. Our father had walked away with his clothes and his car. Nothing else. You remember what Mom said? Tyler asked. When Dad tried to... Documentation is power, I finished. Yeah, I remember. I didn't sleep. At 6 a.m., I was sitting at Tyler's kitchen table with my laptop, building a timeline. 8 months of text messages. 17 charges at the Riverside Hotel. 23 late nights at the office. 6 weekend HR conferences. The pattern was clear, methodical. They'd been careful, or thought they had been. Wednesday afternoons. Always the same hotel. Always the same story about conferences or late meetings. But Emily had made mistakes. She'd used our joint credit card 4 times. The other 13 charges were on her personal card, but those showed up in our shared financial software. She'd forgotten to mark them as private. Amateur hour. Tyler emerged from his bedroom at 7:15, already dressed for work. You look like hell. Feel worse. He poured coffee, slid a mug across to me. Rebecca Winters. You serious about her? Mom said she's a shark. Mom said she makes sharks look cuddly. Tyler sat down across from me. She doesn't come cheap. I don't care what she costs. And Derek? You going to report him to HR? I'd been thinking about that all night. Derek was my boss. The company had strict policies about workplace relationships, stricter ones about superiors and subordinates. Emily worked in HR at a different company, but Derek had used his position, his access to my life, my trust. Not yet, I said. That's a card I play later, when it does the most damage. Tyler studied me over his coffee mug. You're really doing this, the full scorched earth thing. They took 8 months from me. 8 months of lying to my face, sleeping in my bed, spending my money. I closed the laptop. I'm taking everything else. Rebecca Winters' office was downtown, 20th floor of a glass tower that probably cost more per square foot than my house. Her receptionist, a woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and a look that could cut glass, asked me to wait. I'd called at 8 a.m. sharp, explained I was a referral from Patricia Donovan, my mother's friend. The receptionist had put me on hold for exactly 45 seconds before returning with a 10:30 appointment. She's squeezing you in, the receptionist had said. Don't be late. I was 20 minutes early. The waiting room was all leather and dark wood, with abstract art that probably cost more than my car. A flat-screen television played financial news on mute. I didn't watch it. I was reviewing my documentation for the 100th time, making sure every detail was perfect. At 10:29, the receptionist's phone buzzed. She listened, nodded, hung up. Ms. Winters will see you now. Rebecca Winters was not what I expected. She was maybe 45, blonde hair pulled back in a severe bun, wearing a navy suit that screamed expensive. But it was her eyes that caught me. Sharp, calculating, missing nothing as I walked into her office. Mr. Donovan's son, she said, not rising from behind her desk. Patricia speaks highly of you. Sit. I sat. You're here about your wife's affair. Not a question. She'd already opened a leather portfolio, pen poised. How long have you known? Since yesterday afternoon. Her eyebrow arched. 24 hours and you're already in my office. That's either very smart or very impulsive. Which is it? Smart, I hope. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Don't leave anything out. I did. The credit card charge, the hotel, the surveillance, Derek, Tyler's recovery of the text messages, the timeline I'd built. Every detail, every piece of evidence, every moment of the last 24 hours. Rebecca took notes in precise, efficient handwriting. She didn't interrupt, didn't react, just absorbed information like a computer processing data. When I finished, she set down her pen. You have 8 months of deleted text messages recovered from iCloud, 17 documented hotel visits, credit card receipts, location data, photographic evidence of them together. She leaned back in her chair. And the other party is your direct supervisor. Yes? How long have you been married? 12 years. Children? No. Joint assets? House, 2 cars, investment accounts, savings. I pulled out a folder I'd prepared. Everything's documented here. Account numbers, titles, values as of yesterday. She took the folder, flipped through it. Her expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker in her eyes. Approval, maybe. You came prepared. My mother taught me well. Patricia did mention your father's situation. Rebecca closed the folder. She also mentioned how that situation resolved. I assume you're looking for a similar outcome. I want her to have nothing, and I want Derek Paulson to lose everything too. The affair partner. Rebecca tapped her pen against the desk. That's trickier. You can't divorce him. But there are other avenues: workplace complaints, tortious interference with marriage, alienation of affection, depending on the state. We're in North Carolina. Her smile was cold. Then we have options. North Carolina still recognizes alienation of affection claims. It's one of the few states that does. She opened her laptop, began typing. If we can prove Derek Paulson deliberately interfered with your marriage, seduced your wife, caused the breakdown of your relationship, and your documentation suggests we can sue him directly for damages. How much? Depends on the jury. I've seen awards from $50,000 to several million. She looked up from her screen. How much is Derek Paulson worth? He makes about $300,000 a year, owns a condo downtown, drives a BMW, has investment accounts. I've seen the statements when we've discussed retirement planning. So we're looking at significant assets. Good. More typing. Here's how this works. We file for divorce immediately. North Carolina requires a 1-year separation period, but we can use that time strategically. We document everything, build an airtight case, and we prepare the alienation of affection lawsuit simultaneously. She turned the laptop toward me. On the screen was a form, already half filled with my information. We'll need a retainer, $50,000 to start. This will be expensive and it will be brutal. Your wife will hire her own attorney. They'll try to negotiate. They'll claim the marriage was already broken. They'll attack your character, your behavior, anything they can find. Rebecca's eyes locked on mine. Can you handle that? I thought about Emily's text last night, the worry in her words, the fear. I thought about Derek's hand on her back, the familiar way he'd kissed her. 8 months of lies. Yes. Then we start today. Rebecca pulled the laptop back, continued typing. I'll have my investigator verify everything you've provided. We'll need sworn affidavits from anyone who witnessed their relationship. Your brother, if he's willing. We'll subpoena hotel records, phone records, everything. Whatever it takes. One more thing. She stopped typing, fixed me with that sharp gaze. Once we start this, there's no going back. No reconciliation. No second chances. We go for the throat and we don't stop until we've won. Are you absolutely certain this is what you want? I thought about Emily, probably at work right now. Texting Derek, maybe. Telling him about my strange behavior. Both of them wondering, worrying, but not knowing. Not yet. I'm certain. Rebecca smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Then let's destroy them. I signed the retainer agreement in Rebecca's office at 4:47 p.m. on Thursday. My hand didn't shake. I wrote the check for $50,000 with the same steady precision I'd used to sign my mortgage 12 years ago, when Emily and I bought our first house together. That version of me felt like a stranger now. I'll file the complaint Monday morning, Rebecca said, sliding the signed documents into a folder. Derek will be served at work. Emily will likely find out within hours. Good. She studied me across the mahogany desk. You understand this will detonate your life, your job, your marriage, your social circle? Everything changes the moment those papers hit Derek's desk. It already detonated. I'm just making sure everyone else feels the blast. I drove to Tyler's apartment where I'd been sleeping on his couch for 2 nights. Emily had called 17 times. Texted 43. Each message a variation on the same theme. Where are you? I'm worried. Please call me. What's wrong? What's wrong? I'd stopped reading them after the first dozen. Tyler was heating up Chinese takeout when I walked in. He took one look at my face and grabbed 2 beers from the fridge. It's done? Monday morning. I dropped onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. Rebecca's filing both suits, divorce and alienation of affection. How much are you going for? 5 million from Derek, the house, her car, and half her retirement from Emily. Tyler whistled low. Jesus. North Carolina law. You destroy someone's marriage, you pay for it. I took a long pull from the beer. Derek makes $400,000 a year, plus stock options. He's worth at least $8 million on paper. Rebecca thinks we can get 3, maybe 4 in settlement. And Emily? She gets nothing. Adultery bars her from alimony in this state. The house was my down payment. I've got the bank records. Her Lexus is in my name. She'll walk away with her clothes and whatever's left in her 401k after I take my half. Tyler sat down across from me, his expression careful. You thought about what happens after? I mean, after the lawsuits, after the divorce? What do you actually want? I stared at the beer bottle in my hands. Condensation dripped onto my jeans. I want them to lose everything I lost. Derek loses his marriage, his money, his reputation. Emily loses her security, her comfortable life, the future she thought she'd have. I looked up. I want them to know what it feels like. That's revenge, not a life plan. It's enough for now. My phone buzzed. Another text from Emily. Please. I don't understand what's happening. Did I do something wrong? Did I do something wrong? I showed Tyler the screen. He read it and shook his head. She's really going to play innocent until the end, isn't she? Probably thinks I'm having some kind of breakdown. Work stress, midlife crisis, depression. I set the phone face down on the coffee table. She has no idea I know. You going to tell her before the lawsuit? No. Man, she's going to lose her mind when... My phone rang. Not Emily this time. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? Is this Emily's husband? A woman's voice, older, formal. This is Patricia Cole from Whitmore and Associates. I'm calling regarding the estate of Dorothy Mitchell. Emily's mother. Dead 3 weeks now. I'd been to the funeral, stood next to Emily while she cried, held her hand during the service, helped clean out the house the following weekend. The irony wasn't lost on me. Yes, this is him. I'm the notary handling Mrs. Mitchell's will. I need to schedule a reading with you and Emily. There are some unusual provisions that require both of you to be present. Both of us? The will specifically names Emily as primary beneficiary, but certain conditions affect the distribution. I'd prefer to discuss the details in person. Papers rustled in the background. Would tomorrow at 10 a.m. work? My office is downtown, corner of 5th and Main. I glanced at Tyler, who was watching with raised eyebrows. I'll be there. I can't speak for Emily. I've already contacted her. She's confirmed for 10 a.m. A pause. I realize this is a difficult time, but the estate cannot be settled until this meeting occurs. It's legally complicated. Fine, tomorrow at 10. I hung up. Tyler leaned forward. Emily's mom left you something? No idea, but the notary said there are conditions on Emily's inheritance. I pulled up my calendar, blocking out Friday morning. Probably some kind of trust requirement. Dorothy had money. That house in Asheville, the investment accounts, the lake property. How much are we talking? Emily thought maybe $500,000 total. The apartment in Asheville alone is worth $300,000. Tyler's eyes widened. And you're about to divorce her. Timing is something, isn't it? I didn't sleep that night. Lay on Tyler's couch staring at the ceiling, running scenarios. Dorothy's will couldn't affect the divorce. Inheritances were separate property in North Carolina, not subject to division. Whatever Emily got from her mother's estate, she'd keep, unless there were conditions. At 9:30 Friday morning, I pulled into the parking garage across from Whitmore and Associates. The law office occupied the third floor of a renovated brick building, all exposed beams and modern glass. Emily was already in the waiting room. She stood when she saw me, her face a mixture of relief and confusion. "Oh my God, where have you been? I've been calling." "Not now." I walked past her to the receptionist's desk. "I'm here for the Mitchell estate reading." The receptionist, a woman in her 50s with silver hair, nodded. "Ms. Cole is expecting you both. Conference room B down the hall." Emily followed me, her heels clicking on the hardwood. "What is going on? You disappear for 3 days. You won't answer my calls and now—" "Emily, not now." Something in my voice stopped her. She fell silent, but I could feel her staring at the back of my head. Patricia Cole was waiting in a small conference room, a thick folder open on the table in front of her. She was perhaps 60, with steel gray hair pulled back in a bun and reading glasses on a chain around her neck. "Please, sit." She gestured to the chairs across from her. "Thank you both for coming on short notice." Emily sat. I took the chair farthest from her. Patricia studied us over her glasses, her expression unreadable. "I'll be direct. Dorothy Mitchell's will contains an unusual provision regarding the primary asset of her estate, the apartment in Asheville, currently valued at approximately $320,000. She slid a document across the table. Emily reached for it, but I saw her hand trembling. "The apartment is left to Emily Mitchell, with one condition." Patricia's voice was carefully neutral. "I'm reading directly from the will. The property transfers to my daughter Emily on the condition that she stop disgracing the family. Should she fail to meet this condition within 30 days of my death, the property will instead transfer to the Asheville Women's Shelter." Silence. Emily stared at the document, her face pale. What does that mean? Disgracing the family?" "I was hoping you could explain." Patricia folded her hands on the table. "The will was executed on September 14th, exactly 1 month ago. Your mother came to this office, requested the change to her existing will, and insisted on that specific language." "But I don't understand. I haven't—" Emily's voice cracked. "What is she talking about?" I watched her face. The confusion looked genuine. But then, everything had looked genuine for 8 months while she'd been sleeping with my boss. Patricia turned to me. "Did your mother-in-law discuss any concerns with you? Any family issues that might explain this clause?" "No. Dorothy and I weren't close." True enough. Dorothy had always been cordial but distant. I'd assumed it was just her personality. Now I wondered what else she'd seen. "The condition is legally vague," Patricia continued. "Without context, it's difficult to determine what would constitute compliance. However, the 30-day deadline is clear. Mrs. Mitchell passed on October 9th. That gives you until November 8th to resolve whatever issue prompted this provision." Emily was shaking her head, tears starting to form. "This doesn't make sense. Mom and I were fine. We talked every week. She never said anything about being disappointed or—" "When did you last see her?" I asked. Emily turned to me, startled by the question. "The weekend before she died. I drove up to Asheville, we had lunch, we talked about—" She trailed off, her expression shifting. "She asked me if I was happy. And I said yes. I said everything was fine." Emily's voice was barely a whisper. She looked at me for a long time and said, "I hope you're being honest with yourself, sweetheart, because lies have a way of destroying everything." Patricia watched this exchange with professional detachment. Did she elaborate? No. I thought she was talking about work stress. Or maybe she was feeling philosophical because of her age. She was 73. I didn't think— Emily pressed her hands to her face. "Oh God. Did she know something? Did someone tell her something?" I felt cold. Dorothy had changed her will on September 14th. I pulled out my phone, scrolling back through the credit card statements Tyler had compiled. September 12th, Riverside Hotel, room 447, $923, 2 days before Dorothy changed her will. Did your mother have friends in the city? I asked. Anyone who might have seen you somewhere unexpected? Emily's face went white. Why would you ask that? Answer the question. Yes, she had a college roommate who lives downtown. Margaret something. They had lunch occasionally when Mom came to visit. Emily's hands were shaking now. Why does that matter? I looked at Patricia. Is there any way to contest the condition? To get more information about what Dorothy meant? Not without evidence of her intent. The will is legally sound, if unconventional. Unless Emily can demonstrate compliance with the condition, or prove the condition is impossible to meet, the property transfers to the charity on November 8th. She paused. That's 3 weeks from today. Emily stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I need air. I need to… Excuse me. She rushed out of the conference room. I heard the bathroom door slam down the hall. Patricia removed her glasses, cleaning them with a cloth from her pocket. I've been a notary for 32 years. I've seen people write their children out of wills for everything from political disagreements to bad haircuts, but this… She shook her head. Your mother-in-law knew exactly what she was doing. She wanted this to be a message. Did she say anything when she made the change? Only that she hoped she was wrong, but she couldn't ignore what she'd seen. Patricia met my eyes. She was crying when she signed it. I sat back in the chair, processing. Dorothy had known. Somehow she'd found out about the affair, and instead of confronting Emily directly, she'd written it into her will. A final attempt to make her daughter face the truth. And she'd done it 1 month before she died. The bathroom door opened. Emily emerged, her makeup smudged, her eyes red. She looked at me across the hallway and for the first time in 3 days, really looked at me. You know, she whispered. Don't you? I stood, gathering my jacket. Monday morning, I said. You'll know everything Monday morning. Then I walked out, leaving her standing there with her dead mother's judgment and 3 weeks to figure out how to stop disgracing the family. The timing really was something. I spent Saturday and Sunday preparing for war. Tyler's apartment became my command center. I spread everything across his dining table, printed text messages, credit card statements, timeline spreadsheets, photographs. 8 months of lies documented in neat, chronological order. Rebecca had been clear about Monday's timeline. Derek would be served at his office 9 a.m. sharp. Emily would receive her papers at home 30 minutes later. Maximum impact, minimum warning. You sure about the timing? Tyler asked Sunday night, handing me a beer. Hitting them both the same morning? Derek needs to know before he can warn her, before they can coordinate their story. Tyler nodded slowly. And you're really going through with the alienation suit? That's $5 million. I took a long drink. North Carolina law. He destroyed my marriage. He pays for it. If you can prove it. I can prove it. I gestured at the table. 8 months of deleted texts, hotel receipts, timeline showing exactly when their business dinners started, his handwriting on room service orders. Tyler sat across from me, studying the documents. What about work? You know this nukes your career, right? Derek's not just going to take this quietly. I've already updated my resume. 3 recruiters have reached out this week. I'd spent Friday afternoon on LinkedIn, quietly activating my network. I'll have offers before the month ends. And if you don't? Then I don't. I met his eyes. Some things matter more than a job. He was quiet for a moment. Mom called me yesterday, asked if I knew what was going on with you and Emily. My jaw tightened. What did you tell her? That you'd talk to her when you're ready. He paused. She's worried. Says Emily called her crying, saying you won't come home or answer her calls. Emily can cry to someone else. I'm just saying, Mom doesn't know the whole story, neither does Dad. When this hits Monday, they're going to have questions. I'd thought about that. My parents loved Emily. 12 years of family dinners, holidays, birthday celebrations. They'd been talking about grandchildren. I'll tell them Monday afternoon, after everything's filed. Tyler nodded. Want me there? No, but thanks. We sat in silence, drinking our beers. Outside, the city hummed with Sunday night traffic. Normal people doing normal things. Going home to spouses who hadn't betrayed them. The mother-in-law thing is weird, though, Tyler said finally. Dorothy changing her will a month ago. You think she actually saw them together? Had to be something concrete. You don't write "Stop disgracing the family" based on rumors. But why not just tell you? Or tell Emily directly? I'd been wondering the same thing. Dorothy had never been subtle. If she'd known about the affair, why the cryptic will clause instead of direct confrontation? Maybe she was dying faster than expected. Didn't have time. Or maybe she wanted Emily to have one last chance to fix it herself, Tyler shrugged. Before you found out. That thought had occurred to me too. Dorothy protecting her daughter, giving her 30 days to end the affair and save her marriage. Not knowing I'd already discovered everything. Doesn't matter now, I said. Emily's not getting that apartment. The will says she has to stop disgracing the family. Technically, if she ends the affair, she can't end what's already exposed. I smiled without humor. By Monday afternoon, everyone will know. Her disgrace becomes public record the moment those lawsuits are filed. Tyler considered this. You think that's what Dorothy meant? Public knowledge? I think Dorothy meant Emily should stop sleeping with married men, but the will doesn't specify private versus public disgrace. I'd already discussed this with Rebecca. And once it's in court documents, it's public. Cold. Effective. My phone buzzed. Emily, of course, her 15th text of the day. Please come home. We need to talk about my mother's will, about what she meant. I need to understand what she knew. I deleted it without responding. Tyler watched me. You haven't answered her all weekend. I told her she'd know everything Monday. She's scared. Good. Another buzz. This time, a voicemail notification. I put the phone face down on the table. You should eat something, Tyler said. You've barely touched food since Wednesday. He was right. I'd been running on coffee and adrenaline for 4 days. But the thought of food made my stomach turn. I'll eat tomorrow, after. After you blow up your entire life? After I take it back. Monday morning arrived cold and clear. I was awake at 5 a.m., showered and dressed by 5:30. Tyler was already up, making coffee. Big day, he said, handing me a mug. Yeah. You okay? I thought about that. Was I okay? My marriage was ending. My career was probably ending. My wife's inheritance was gone. I was about to make my boss's affair public knowledge and sue him for $5 million. I'm fine. Tyler didn't look convinced, but he didn't push. At 7:30, Rebecca called. Process server is in position outside Derek's office building. He'll make contact at 9 sharp when Derek arrives. And Emily? Second server is ready at your house, 9:30. Good. You're still sure about this? Once those papers are served, there's no taking it back. I'm sure. Okay, a pause. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. Men like Derek need to face consequences. After we hung up, I sat in Tyler's living room, watching the clock. 7:47. Derek was probably eating breakfast right now, oblivious. Maybe texting Emily about their next meeting. 8:15. Derek would be getting ready for work, choosing a tie, checking his schedule. 8:30. Emily would be waking up in our bed, reaching for her phone, checking for messages from me that wouldn't come. 8:45. Derek pulling into his reserved parking spot at the office. Walking through the lobby, greeting the security guard, riding the elevator to the executive floor. My phone rang at 8:52. Unknown number. Hello? Is this the plaintiff in Paulson Civil Case 2024 CV 8847? A male voice, professional. Yes? This is Tom Brennan, your process server. I have visual confirmation of the defendant entering his office building. Will approach at 9 mu as instructed. Understood. I put the phone on speaker and set it on the coffee table. Tyler sat down next to me. You don't have to listen to this, he said quietly. Yes, I do. We waited. The clock on Tyler's wall ticked steadily. 8:54. 8:55. 8:56. At 8:59, my phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca. Server 2 in position at your residence. 9 Saun. I imagined Derek at his desk, checking emails, sipping coffee. The knock on his office door. Tom Brennan entering with a manila envelope. Derek Paulson, you've been served. My phone rang at 9:04. Defendant has been served, Tom Brennan reported. Signed receipt confirmed. He's reading the documents now. How did he react? Went pale. Asked me to repeat your name. Then asked me to leave his office. Thank you. I hung up and checked the time. 9:06. 24 minutes until Emily's world collapsed. Tyler was watching me carefully. You feel anything? Did I? I searched for satisfaction, vindication, triumph. Found only a cold, hollow certainty. I feel like I'm finally doing something instead of being done to. 9:15. Derek would be calling his lawyer right now. Maybe trying to reach Emily, warn her. But her papers were already en route. 9:20. The second server would be parking outside our house, walking up the driveway, ringing the doorbell. 9:25. Emily answering in her bathrobe, expecting a package delivery. 9:30. My phone rang. Rebecca. Both served. It's done. I closed my eyes. Any issues? None. Your wife asked the server what the documents were. He told her to read them. She's been served with divorce papers and noticed that she's named as a party in the alienation suit, not as defendant, but as witness to the affair. Smart. Emily couldn't be sued herself, but she'd have to testify about the relationship. Under oath. In depositions that would become public record. What happens now? Now we wait for their responses. Derek has 30 days to answer the suit. Emily has 20 days to respond to the divorce petition. Rebecca paused. And now the clock starts on her mother's will condition. 30 days to stop disgracing the family. Which she can't do. Which she can't do, Rebecca agreed. The affair is now documented in court filings, public knowledge. Even if she ended it this morning, the disgrace is permanent. The conference room at Whitfield and Associates had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown. I'd been in this room 100 times. Quarterly reviews, strategy sessions, the occasional celebration. Never like this. Derek sat across the mahogany table with his attorney, a silver-haired man named Gerald Pritchard, who'd probably handled a dozen of these cases before breakfast. Emily was beside Derek, which told me everything I needed to know about where her loyalties had landed. Her attorney, a younger woman with sharp eyes and a sharper suit, kept glancing at the documents spread between us. Rebecca sat to my right, perfectly composed in navy blue, her reading glasses perched on her nose as she reviewed Derek's initial response to the alienation of affection suit. Mr. Paulson's position, Gerald began, his voice carrying the practiced calm of someone who billed $650 an hour, is that this lawsuit is without merit. North Carolina's alienation of affection statute is archaic and still perfectly legal, Rebecca interrupted smoothly. which is why we're here negotiating instead of letting a jury decide how much your client's relationship with his employee's wife is worth. Derek's jaw tightened. He looked different than he had 4 days ago, older somehow. The confidence that had made him a good boss had curdled into something defensive. Emily wouldn't meet my eyes. She dressed carefully for this. A gray suit I'd never seen before, her hair pulled back. Professional, distant, like I was just another business problem to solve. The divorce proceedings are separate, Emily's attorney said. Her name was Jennifer Cole, and she'd come recommended by someone in Emily's office. My client is willing to agree to an equitable division of assets. Equitable, I said. The word tasted bitter. She wants half of everything after spending 8 months in hotel rooms with my boss. Your emotional state is understandable, Jennifer said, but North Carolina is an equitable distribution state, not a fault-based. Actually, Rebecca said, sliding a document across the table, adultery does impact distribution in North Carolina, particularly when we can demonstrate the marital funds were used to support the affair. The $6,040 in hotel charges, the $2,100 in restaurant bills, the weekend trip to Charleston that was supposedly a girls' weekend. I watched Emily's face pale. Tyler had found that one buried in her email, a beach house rental split with Derek, complete with photos she'd never shown me. My client disputes those amounts, Jennifer said, but her voice had lost some of its certainty. We have itemized receipts, Rebecca replied. Credit card statements, text messages discussing the expenditures. Would you like to dispute them in front of a judge? The room went quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning. Gerald cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss a global settlement, one that addresses both the divorce and the other matter. The $5 million lawsuit against your client for destroying my client's marriage, Rebecca said pleasantly. Yes, let's discuss that. Derek finally spoke. This is insane. You can't put a price on a 12-year marriage, I said. You're right, I can't. But the law says I can try. Our eyes met across the table. 6 years I'd worked for this man. 6 years of mentorship, of trust, of considering him a friend. I'd invited him to our anniversary party. He'd given a toast. How long? I asked. The question had been burning in me since that first screenshot. Emily flinched. That's not 8 months, I said. According to the text messages. But I'm wondering if it started before that. Before my promotion last year. Before you recommended me for the Asheville project. Derek's expression shifted, just slightly, but I caught it. The Asheville project, I repeated slowly. Something clicked into place. That's where Emily's mother lived. That's where you two… This isn't productive, Gerald interrupted. But I was already pulling out my phone, scrolling through my calendar. I went to Asheville 4 times last year for that project. 4 trips. Emily came with me twice, said she wanted to visit her mother. I looked at Derek. You were there for the first trip. Said you had family in the area. Rebecca's pen was moving across her legal pad. We started the Asheville project in January, I continued. 14 months ago. So when you said 8 months in your texts, you were lying to each other about when it started. Or lying to yourselves. Emily's hands were shaking. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? The question came out harder than I'd intended. Explain it to me. Make me understand how you ended up in bed with my boss while your mother was dying 3 miles away. That's enough, Jennifer said sharply. No, Emily said quietly. He deserves an answer. The room held its breath. Mom knew, Emily said. Not at first, but she saw us at a restaurant in Asheville last September. We didn't know she was there. September. The month before Dorothy changed her will. She called me the next day, Emily continued. Her voice was hollow, rehearsed, like she'd practiced this confession. Said I had 30 days to end it and tell you the truth, or she'd tell you herself. She said I was disgracing the family, disgracing her. The will clause. Stop disgracing the family. But you didn't end it, I said. She had the stroke before the 30 days were up, Emily said. 2 weeks later. And then she was in the hospital, and then she was gone, and I thought. She stopped. You thought you'd gotten away with it, I finished. You thought the secret died with her. Emily's face crumpled, but I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, just a vast empty clarity. The will, Rebecca said, leaning forward. Did your mother tell you she was changing it? Emily shook her head. Not until after. The notary called me a week before she died. Said Mom had added a clause. I didn't know what it meant until we served you on Monday, I said. Then you knew exactly what it meant. Jennifer was writing frantically. Gerald looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Here's what's going to happen, Rebecca said, her voice cutting through the tension. Emily forfeits any claim to marital assets beyond her personal possessions and half the value of her vehicle. No alimony, no retirement distribution. In exchange, we reduce our demands in the alienation suit to $500,000, payable by Mr. Paulson personally. That's absurd, Gerald said. My client doesn't have. Your client has a $750,000 home with $200,000 in equity. He has a 401k worth $380,000. He has stock options that vest next quarter worth $150,000. He'll find the money, or we'll go to trial and ask for the full $5 million. Derek's face had gone gray. I'll be ruined. Yes, Rebecca said simply. You will. But you'll be less ruined than if we proceed with discovery and subpoena every email, every text message, every hotel security camera recording. How many times did you use company funds for your affair? How many client dinners that were actually romantic dinners? How many business trips that had nothing to do with business? The silence that followed was answer enough. We need time to consider, Gerald said. You have until Friday at 5 p.m., Rebecca replied. After that, the offer expires and we proceed to trial. Both trials. She stood, and I followed her lead. Emily started to say something, my name maybe, or an apology, but I was already walking toward the door. In the elevator, Rebecca allowed herself a small smile. That went well. The apartment, I said. Emily's inheritance? She's going to lose it. Almost certainly. The 30-day window expired 3 weeks ago. Even if she ended the affair today, she's already violated the will's terms. $320,000, I said. Gone. Dorothy knew what she was doing, Rebecca said. She gave her daughter a choice and a deadline. Emily made her choice. The elevator doors opened onto the parking garage. My car was 3 spaces from Emily's silver Lexus, the one I'd bought her for our 10th anniversary. I want the car too, I said. In the settlement. It's in my name anyway. Rebecca nodded, already typing notes into her phone. Consider it done. 3 months later. The house sold in 48 hours. Multiple offers, all over asking. I took the highest one and signed the papers in Rebecca's office without ceremony. Emily had already moved out, into a studio apartment near her office, Tyler had heard. The kind of place you rent when you're starting over with nothing. Derek settled. $500,000, paid out over 5 years with interest. His condo went on the market 2 weeks after our conference room meeting. The company's HR investigation concluded 3 days after that, and he resigned to pursue other opportunities. I heard through former colleagues that he'd taken a position in Atlanta, making half his previous salary. Emily's inheritance never materialized. The Asheville apartment transferred to the women's shelter on November 8th, exactly 30 days after Dorothy's death. I thought about driving up to see it, to understand what Dorothy had been trying to save, but I never did. Some questions don't need answers. The divorce finalized on a gray Tuesday in February. No drama, no last-minute negotiations, just signatures and a judge's stamp. 12 years reduced to a case number and a filing fee. I kept the house, kept the retirement accounts, kept both cars, sold the Lexus a week later and didn't tell anyone what I did with the money. Emily walked away with her clothes, her personal items, and whatever remained in her 401k after the division. No alimony, no second chances. She tried to call me once, 3 weeks after the divorce was final. I let it go to voicemail, deleted it without listening. Whatever she needed to say, I didn't need to hear it. Tyler asked me if I felt better now that it was over. I told him I felt clear. That was the truth. Not happy, not vindicated, not triumphant. Just clear. Like someone had wiped fog off a window, and I could finally see the landscape for what it was. The job offers came, just like I'd predicted. I took one with a firm in Charlotte. Better title, better pay, no history. Started fresh in March. My new colleagues didn't know about the divorce, the lawsuit, the whole ugly mess. I was just the new senior analyst with good references and a solid track record. Mom called every Sunday. We didn't talk about Emily. Dad sent occasional texts asking if I needed anything. I appreciated the space they gave me, the questions they didn't ask. I sold most of the furniture, too many memories attached to each piece, bought new things that were mine alone, repainted the walls, converted Emily's office into a gym. The house stopped feeling like a museum of my failed marriage and started feeling like just a house. Some nights I'd sit on the back deck with a beer and think about Dorothy, the woman who'd seen her daughter's betrayal and responded not with confrontation but with consequence, who'd given Emily a choice and a deadline, knowing full well what the outcome would be. I wondered if she'd hoped Emily would choose differently, or if she'd known her daughter well enough to predict exactly how it would end. Either way, Dorothy had taught me something important. Trust isn't about believing the best in people. It's about knowing who they are and making decisions accordingly. Emily had shown me exactly who she was. Derek had shown me exactly who he was. I'd simply believed them. I ran into Emily once, 6 months after the divorce. A coffee shop downtown, pure coincidence. She was with someone, a man I didn't recognize, younger than Derek, wearing an expensive suit. They were laughing about something. She saw me. The laughter died. For a moment, we just looked at each other across the crowded cafe. I nodded once, took my coffee, left. I didn't feel anger, didn't feel pain, didn't feel much of anything except a mild curiosity about whether she'd learned anything from losing everything. But that wasn't my problem anymore. Tyler asked me once if I regretted how hard I'd gone after them, if I thought the scorched earth approach had been worth it. I thought about Derek's $500,000 settlement, paid out monthly like a mortgage on his mistakes. About Emily's lost inheritance, the apartment that could have been her security. About the reputation both of them would carry in professional circles where people talk. They made choices, I told Tyler. I just made sure those choices had consequences. That's not really an answer, he said. It's the only answer I've got. The truth is, there's no satisfaction in revenge. Not the kind you expect anyway. You don't feel victorious when someone who hurt you loses everything. You just feel tired. But there's something else, something quieter. The knowledge that you didn't let it slide. That you didn't make excuses for people who didn't deserve them. That when someone showed you who they really were, you believed them and acted accordingly. Dorothy understood that. She'd built consequences into her will because she knew that some people only learn through loss. Maybe Emily learned. Maybe she didn't. Either way, it wasn't my lesson to teach anymore. I kept the wedding photos in a box in the garage. Couldn't bring myself to throw them away. Couldn't stand to look at them either. 12 years of smiles and anniversaries and moments that had meant something once. Maybe someday I'd be able to sort through them without feeling like I was looking at a stranger's life. But not yet. For now, I had my clear windows and my fresh paint, and my new job where nobody knew my history. I had Sunday calls with Mom and Tyler's couch when I needed to not be alone. I had the quiet satisfaction of knowing I'd stood up for myself when it mattered. The rest would come. Or it wouldn't. Either way, I'd survive it. Because if I'd learned anything from the last year, it was this. You can't control who people choose to be. You can only control who you choose to be in response. Derek and Emily chose betrayal. I chose consequences. And in the end, we all got exactly what we deserved.